Of the thank you, Ramki. And can someone confirm that you can see the PPT slide, first slide?
Yes, right.
Wonderful. Okay. So I won't be monitoring chat. So some people are sending on that. So I won't be able to do that. I'll just be doing the presentation. So good evening and welcome everyone. And we'll start now. I've got a largish deck of slides. I've got 90 slides. And I hope to be able to finish it, I don't know, by say 10:40, 10:45, and then we'll have a Q&A. So, if there's any problem in terms of reception or sound or slides or whatever, please button and let me know. We'll try and work it out. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining. Uh, so, I'm starting now. This is my motto. You can read it later. This is my process. Again, you can read it later. This part of the presentation is part of a larger thing that I'm planning. So this is the only one which is done at this point. You can see the slide number at the bottom right hand corner. So we are on slide number 5, and this is about health, specifically metabolic syndrome. I would request you to kindly hold your questions till the PPT ends. Please note the slide number for reference so that when you ask me questions, then I can go back to that slide and answer the questions if I need to do that. All right. So we are a go, right? Okay. I presume we are a go.
Yes.
Great. So the question that I want to ask everyone first is, and these are all rhetorical questions, so don't worry really. That what do we really want, lifespan or health span? I personally prefer that whatever time I have remaining on this earth, I would like to be in good health, and there's no point in having life without health. And my submission is that there probably is no possibility of health along with medicine. Medicine is basically metabolic syndrome, also known as syndrome X, also known as insulin resistance. And I submit that it's because of hyperinsulinemia. And for those who are not well versed in physiology or biochemistry, I'll be doing a little bit of explaining, and please bear with me so that even if you feel that I am talking very elementary things. Hyper means high, insulin means, of course, insulin, and emia means in the blood. So you'll get many hyperuricemia, hyperglycemia. I will keep talking about those. MetSyn is kind of a short form that I use for metabolic syndrome. And today we'll try and understand a little bit more of how, why, and what of metabolic syndrome. Now, please do understand that this is not any advice. Everybody's body is different. So before you decide anything, talk to qualified professionals, do your own research, do little n equal to 1 experiments, that is on yourself, before you decide some kind of a plan for yourself. As for me, I am doing this basically for correcting myself, so that if I do something wrong, the doctors on this call could correct me during Q&A or later, or even if I'm making some real big mistake, button right away and tell me that I'm making a big mistake. So it's for my education and correcting myself. This PPT, I'll mail it. I'll give my email address at the end. So you can ask for the PPT any point in time. And I will try and keep it a live PPT. So if I change my mind, it'll be changed in that. So if you want the PPT again at a later time, just send me a mail. I'll probably not be very quick in the response, but I will do it. So there is one specific thing about medicine, that it is a chronic condition. It happens. So RCTs, randomized clinical or controlled trials that we have, that may not be possible for things like metabolic syndrome and even epidemiology and other meta-analysis, because what you have done 20 years back is impacting you today, and what some we are doing today or younger people are doing today, it'll impact them like maybe 20 years later. So I fundamentally focus on understanding mechanisms of how things are happening. So despite all this, all these efforts, I will be wrong somewhere or the other. So I think that n equal to one experimentation is the only option. And once again, none of this is advice. Once again, I'm not a qualified professional. This I'm only sharing my experience, and I'm doing this PPT for the first time. So I will be wrong. Please allow me to make mistakes. And like I said in the invite, attend at your own risk. So moving on, I'm already giving the take home, which is that no SSS. Now, what is this SSS? You'll have to hang on for another 1.5 hours to figure out what this SSS is. But this is the take home of the presentation today. Now, these are the global risk, global patterns which I'm sharing here, and the colored ones are highly correlated. At least the red ones are strongly correlated with medicine. So why there's so many of them and why are they listed separately? That's in my view, and I may be completely wrong. That's because in today's world of super specialities, we have um, um, uh, here we are blindfolded, so we are not really able to see the complete picture. We only see the part of the picture that we see, that we experience, and the elephant in the room is not really seen by everyone, as it were. Indian top causes of death in India, they are also very similar to what you find globally. A few differences here and there. You see that half of the problems, really almost half of the problems, approximately half the problems have to do with this elephant in the room, medicine. Now, specifically, what are the top risk issues for us Indians? I'm not going to talk about the black ones. I'm only going to be talking about the red ones. So, hypertension or high blood pressure, poor diet patterns, specifically low protein, high refined carbs, high seed oils. When I say seed oils, what I mean is things like corn oil, things like safflower oil, sunflower oil. These are oils, industrial seed oils. These are not natural oils that historically we used to get out of either fruits or drupes or nuts. Like coconut, it's got a natural oil, and there's so many other nuts which give natural oil. These days, the oils that you get in the market, they are industrially, chemically extracted, and some of the qualities of those are not really something which our bodies really know. And then high sugar and low vegetables. High blood sugar. When I say sugar, I mean glucose. India is considered or by many as the diabetes capital of the world. A lot of it is hidden, and we could be facing a tsunami in the next decade or so. High BMI and central obesity. Now, when I say central obesity, I mean visceral fat. I mean abdominal fat. I mean the fat which is which is inside the abdominal wall. So, of course, fatty people like me do have excess fat, and we have the subcutaneous fat that is under the skin and also inside the abdominal wall. We have that as well. But there are people who look from outside, they look like thin. Thin outside, fat inside, that's tofu, thin outside, fat inside. Uh, they are also at risk. And the thing is that because they are slim, they probably don't see themselves at risk. So all these things are there. Um, now, of course, I will be coming to the tree, the insulin resistance tree, which I had shared in the invite. But that was done by an artist. Uh, and this is, as you see at the bottom left-hand side, I've got a link. So in on all my slides, wherever I have picked up from some study or from some YouTube of some qualified person, I am giving those links. So if you want, you can go and check those out. A few changes I would have made somewhere or the other on the slides, and you can go to the original and see the original. So why I have put this slide is because this is the research work, and they have said all these problems are a result of central obesity or visceral fat, which um, almost always is because of insulin resistance, and it creates insulin resistance. It's a kind of a, vicious circle. And because I came into all this from gout, I do want to point out that this also increases gout. We are regularly told that you don't eat meat, red meat at least, and you don't drink fruit juice, and you don't drink alcohol. Your uric acid will return to normal. Well, it doesn't, because as we'll get to know later, there is a huge fructose impact on that. And insulin resistance and visceral fat, they end up creating that fructose effect and increasing the uric acid. But anyway, that was about me. All of us will probably have some or the other thing a bit off amongst these. So dyslipidemia, as in low HDL cholesterol or high triglycerides or something like that, heart problem, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, cholesterol, gallstones, then some cancers, not all, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, dementia, including Alzheimer's. So, and as I will share later, there are several other diseases also which show some level of correlation with medicine. So, when we talk about metabolic syndrome, metabolism is really about what we eat and how it is used in our body for bodily functions. So, there are, of course, micronutrients like uh, things that we use in small quantities, that we need in small quantities, things like vitamins and minerals and so forth. There are three macronutrients in particular which we need in large quantities, or we use or eat in large quantities, and those are carbs, proteins, and fats. Proteins, as you can see in the middle, are coming largely from animal products. There are also many plant proteins. However, with the exception of maybe peanuts and soybean, this is as far as I know, hardly any mainstream plant products have majority protein and minority carb. Most others, even which have like lentils, pulses, and all, which have proteins in them, uh, their majority portion really is carbs. So, what are carbs then? Carbs are carbohydrates. So, CHO, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. And in our body, we we process some of them, and their simplest product, glucose, we use as energy currency. I'll talk about that more. But the digestible carbs are reduced to glucose, which is then used for energy. Fats are similarly used for energy. So fats and carbs are used for energy. Now, I said glucose. Uh, any of these things which ends in an ose means it's a sugar. It's a carb. So glucose is of course the main sugar which you have in starches and which we use as energy currency. There is fructose which is found in fruits. There is lactose which is found in milk, galactose and allulose and many others. There is also something known as cellulose. Now, cellulose is the hard part of a plant. And I may be making some mistakes here, but we cannot digest cellulose. In fact, mammals cannot digest cellulose. So the question then comes is how are cows and buffaloes and goat and sheep and gazelles and all these mammals and even gorillas are able to eat plant material, and they are able to put up such wonderful muscles. That's because that cellulose goes in their body, and they either have a four-part stomach, that is either they are ruminants, or they have a large intestine. So our large intestine is rather small in length, or they have a large cecum. So cecum, what we have of cecum is appendix, which is about this much, right? Or I don't know, something around this much. But gorilla's cecum is huge as far as I know. So this fermentation by microorganisms, by bacteria resident in their gut, either in their large intestine or in cecum or in one of their compartments of the stomach, is fermented by those bacteria, and they produce what is known as short chain fatty acids. So they are fats, okay? They are not carbs. So those fats are then absorbed by the body of that herbivore. And also, when those microorganisms die, their proteins are also absorbed by most of these herbivores. So they are able to use that protein to build their muscles and get the tremendous amount of power in terms of running and so on and so forth, which they exhibit. And cellulose or undigestible fiber, um, for us is a very small portion. For humans, although it is an extremely large portion for the herbivores. All right. So I'm sorry for taking so long, but I just wanted to make sure that these basics are there so that when I refer to them, they don't sound like very odd or whatever. So, what has changed? Have our genes changed? Have we changed, or have the macronutrients that we eat, have they changed? So our genes and therefore our organs and their functioning is largely the same as that for lakhs and crores and millions of years, right? So we can trace back one of human-like ancestors that we had for several, or if not several, at least a few million years back. And the changing of genes of DNA is a very slow process. It doesn't happen in like 10 or 12,000 years, during which agriculture was invented, and chemiculture, the name that I give to fertilizer based industrial agriculture, that is only some decades old. And not just this, modern food, mainly UHFs, new carbs, and seed oils, have been introduced just years back. And seed oils, I've already talked about. New carbs is just a name that I'm giving to new carbohydrates, which our bodies don't really recognize that fully. So, something like, say, for example, maltodextrin. Maltodextrin is produced from American sweet corn starch. Uh, now, of course, all industries and everything, they will say, oh, yeah, yeah, it's digested. And if it's not digested, it's good. You're getting some fiber out of that, and so on and so forth. Anyway, we'll examine those claims a little later. UHFs, what are UHFs? Ultra processed, high sugar, high starch, food like industrial substances. So, most often people use UPFs, ultra processed foods, but to distinguish them and to make it very clear in our minds, I'm using the acronym UHF: processed, high sugar, high starch, food like industrial substances. So these are engineered for addiction and non-satiety. So if you drink a cola, you don't feel satisfied with that. Instead, you actually get addicted. The same can be said about fries and pizzas and so forth. See, I'm not blaming companies. They are there to make money, so that's what they're doing. But we have to take care of our health, right? Fruits, they never used to be so sweet. Even as a kid, I remember in late 1960s, grapes that we used to get, that I used to eat, used to be like sour. They used to have zillions of seeds. They used to have thick skin. And like, I don't think I would ever have eaten more than 10 grapes in one sitting. Now the grapes, I can eat 50, I can eat 100 if I allow them in front of me. Mangoes, small little mangoes with lot of fiber inside them, very little edible solid, uh, just some juice coming out of that. And today, there is so much of mango pulp that you get from the mangoes that we get today in the markets. Dates. तो जब मैं बच्चा था, जब मैं जाता था हमारे एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली के गांव पे, खेत पे, तो वहां पे खजूर के पेड़ होते थे, और वो खजूरें क्या होती थी? हड्डी चमड़ा. There was hardly any sweetness in them. There was so little a pulp which was in that. Everything you can talk about that was that. And all those fruits, they came with a lot of fiber, and they came for a very short period of time. And except honey, there was no natural pure sweet. Sweetness was always with a humongous amount of fiber. But today, our soda pops and our fruit juices, they just give us so much of fructose in one go, it's not funny. Table sugar was costly, it was difficult to get, it was rationed. I remember standing in the ration shop lines to get 800 grams of sugar for me and my mom. There were only two of us at home. And because she would try to get me to drink milk, and I didn't like that, so she would, put some sugar in that. So she needed some sugar for that, and for tea when guests came, and for some occasional, once in a month kind of sweet dish that she would make. She herself did not take sugar at all. Despite that, we had severe problems. So we used to exchange our cereals for our bai's sugars, because they would be using gur, jaggery. So, in living memory, these things were so difficult to get. From 1970s, after Green Revolution, even grains were drastically changed. And everyone, when I tell them that I have problems with wheat, they're saying we are eating them for generations, but it's not true. The wheat that we have since 1970s has different proteins, have different structures, and at least compared to the wheat that uh, uh, we grew when we invented agriculture 12 or 10,000 or 8,000 years back, the even the number of genes is different in the wheat. Seed oils, we have talked about. Fat would mainly come with animal products. Um, and also, there is one thing that we as animals do. When faced with danger, we either fight or we run away. So, fight or flight. Now, what do plants do? They can't run away. So, what are their equivalents to keep to save themselves to survive? One, of course, is that they can grow their limbs again. Most animals, we cannot grow our complete limbs. Maybe like starfish can. But of course, we do grow the cells and we do replace the cells which are there, but we can't outright grow new limbs. And the other thing that we don't do, but the plants do, is that they have toxins in them, right? And just like in animals, gazelle and cheetah, they evolved together. And to escape from cheetah, gazelle increased its speed. So cheetah also increased its speed. Only those cheetahs survived which could run faster, and only those gazelles survived which could run faster. So both those are very fast animals. The same is true of toxicity. So there is a bird called cassowary. Now it's a very beautiful bird. It's very tall. It's almost as tall as a human being. It's flightless, beautiful colors, and it's got it for its thumb. It's got some kind of a knife, built-in knife, so it could, with one kick, it could disembowel me if it wanted. So, cassowaries can be quite, moody birds. So don't go close to them if you ever see one of them. But cassowaries eat some really very toxic fruits. They eat some 150 fruits, which are extremely toxic, and the plants have grown with them, and those that toxicity was increased, and cassowary became more and more immune to that, and they became more and more toxic. So of those 150, if we eat any of them, we'll die, but cassowary does not. In fact, those plants are not able to grow unless a cassowary eats the plant and the seed goes through the gut of cassowary. So, and survivalists, they tell you that if you are in a jungle, don't just pick up a fruit and eat it. All of us pack enough fat to last us for at least 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll be found, hopefully, or eaten during that period of time. So, most uh, jungle fruits are really toxic, and some of these, even some are of our vegetables and other food grains, they are toxic. For example, I don't know how many of you have seen that. So my grand aunt, when she used to cook dal on a wood fire, she would keep the vessel without cover for a while, and there would be a lot of foam coming up. So she would just keep picking that foam up and throwing it away until the dal stopped foaming. And that is when she would put whatever else she had to put and then close the lid. So those are anti-nutrients. And Soybean, for example, has huge amount of anti-nutrients. The same can be said about, people are very doubtful about kale, and it can be very good, but it also has some kind of toxins which may have an impact 20, 30 years down the line. We don't know. So, ma- and again, many non-foods are now foods, considered food. So, kurkure. What is that? It's not a food that our genes, our organs recognize. We may recognize them, but our organs don't. So only some animal products perhaps are the least changed. And why so? Because we have fight and flight. So we are able to do that, and our genes are the same. So anyway, this is a slight bit of a longish summary. Let me move on to another slide, which is going to take little bit of long time. So, as we said, proteins are there. Our body uses proteins and their products, amino acids, to build our body parts. But carbohydrates and fats, they are for energy only. Now, carbs are like currency notes. They are fast energy supply, they are in limited source, and uh, you know, let's take, for example, I'm on a train, uh, Bangalore to Bhopal Rajdhani Express, to Delhi Rajdhani Express, and it stops at a station. I need some water. Uh, it stops there only 2 minutes. I get down, I run to the guy, and I say, give me one rail near bottle, and he's going to charge me some 10, 12, 15 rupees. Now I have to give him the currency notes, because I have to then run back to the train before it leaves. I cannot tell them that, look, I have this investment flat in Whitefield in Bangalore. Why don't you take 1 square meter, 1 square millimeter of that as a payment for this water bottle? He's going to laugh me out of his shop, or stall, or whatever. So we need these currency nodes. We need these carbohydrates for currency when we need quick fuels. Now, uh, ever since Notebandi, ever since COVID, I always make sure that I have 10, 20,000 rupees sitting in my Godrej Almira. I'm sure everyone has that. That is glycogen. Glycogen is a number of currency notes, or glucose, strung together, and the liver then just cuts them off and sends them out as glucose whenever it's needed quickly. So you run out of the money from your in your wallet, and then you come back to the Almira. You take out from that 100 note ki gaddi, and you put a few currency notes in your pocket or in your wallet, and then you go and pay off. So glycogen is that. So in order to understand how much of a difference is there between glycogen stores and uh, glucose in currency, in circulation in our blood. So that is less than, we have about some 5 liters of blood, little less than that. We are not supposed to have more than 1 teaspoonful of glucose in that bloodstream. And our brain senses our state of fuel availability or paucity only through the amount of glucose that is circulating in the blood. So only one teaspoonful. Glycogen, how much is that in typical liver? That will be around 100 grams. There is also some glycogen which is there in the skeletal muscles, but that is for movement. It cannot be pulled back into blood supply. So we have this 5 grams of glucose in the blood supply, another 100 grams of glycogen in our liver. Now, when we eat, what happens? When we eat, what happens is that even if we are extremely hungry, chances are that our, um you know, um, the blood content of, or rather the glucose content of the blood will not be lower than zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.7 TSP. Why? Because our livers have this ability to convert anything almost, glycogen or fats or even proteins, to uh, glucose. Normally, it converts excess proteins that we eat to fat, and then when it is needed from that fat store, from that wealth store, uh, um, the liver takes out that and creates the glucose that's called gluconeogenesis. Okay, but when we are eating, only very little glucose can be left within the blood supply, because if the amount of glucose increases, glucose is toxic, and it's a very, just sort of make it much bigger. It's something like a CD. So if you throw a CD at, for example, a birthday cake, it's going to hurt the birthday cake. It's going to cut the birthday cake. So I'm just being oversimplifying. So when there is too much of glucose in the blood, it tends to hurt other small things like RBCs and other proteins within the blood, and that does what is that creates uh, problems when your HbA1c test, you have a higher percentage, a higher number. It means more of your RBCs are damaged by glucose. Okay, so that glucose has to be controlled, and what um, the liver, what our body does is that it immediately tries and store that glucose away. So when the concentration of sugar increases, our pancreas uh, secretes a hormone known as insulin. And that insulin is a bit like, it goes and knocks on cells' doors like that and says, shakarai, shakarai, lelo, shakar lelo. So the sugar goes inside those cells, and the cells inside the cell also, they can't keep too much of sugar. So that cell then converts it into fat molecules and keeps it there. It's not as simple as this, but I'm just oversimplifying it. When it's needed, the fat is then released from fat cells, and through the process of gluconeogenesis, the liver converts it back to glucose, and it's extremely tightly controlled, and it's managed by this conductor, this mediation agent in the middle called insulin. So when we are eating, our glucose goes high. With it, insulin goes high, and then gluconeogenesis stops, and we start using the glucose, or rather the broken down carbohydrates that we have eaten, or if you have just eaten sugar, it gets immediately absorbed. Okay, what we call sugar is sucrose. That's one unit, one molecule of glucose, and one molecule of fructose bound together. So it's a disaccharide. So it's very easy for that to be snipped away so that glucose becomes immediately available. So when we are eating, uh, uh, under the impact of high insulin, the liver stops doing gluconeogenesis, and insulin goes to all the cells, the liver cells, the muscle cells, and most of all the fat cells, and knocks and says, shakkar le lo, shakkar, and they take it. Now, what happens is when this goes on for many years and when we are eating too much of carbohydrates and regularly the sugar is high, glucose is high in the blood, more than what can be used, the insulin certainly remains high. And then whatever is consistently high, the people that it is talking to stop listening to it. You know, if you're a wife and you nag your husband, or if you're a mother and you nag your children, they don't listen to you after a while. Same thing happens, and the insulin says shakar le lo, shakar, they don't listen. So pancreas produces more insulin, so two of them go and bang, and then four of them go and bang, and then you know the cell is forced to open a little and take some. So insulin keeps on increasing, and as we will see later, it becomes a problem. However, when you have exhausted your glycogen reserves, so it happens in an active person, it'll probably take 12 hours. In a performance athlete, it'll take a few hours probably. In me, it takes about 36 hours for my glycogen stores to be depleted. So that's when I have no currency notes in the wallet and no currency notes in the Almira. So I have to go to my wealth. Right. Then from wealth, some money comes out. Say, for example, I sell some mutual fund or some bond or some stocks or something else, and that money then comes out, or breaks some FD or whatever, and that money then comes out, and that fat is then burnt by different parts of the body, and that is used for energy. Now, what happens is that there is something known as a blood-brain barrier. So the blood is not allowed to go inside the brain. Uh, what goes inside? Very small molecules. Glucose goes inside. Fructose also goes inside. Fructose is sometimes also produced in the brain. And some breakdown product of some simplified product of fat called ketones, they are also able to go there. So brain, as far as I know, is capable of using uh, up to 100% glucose, or up to 70% ketones. It still needs some 30% glucose. And normally that's not a problem, because through gluconeogenesis, it's always being produced by the liver. So these ketones are a bit like glucose. So you could possibly call them UPI. They are the Paytms. So you are able to pay them almost directly from your wealth. But the condition is that you should have your cell phone with you. In other words, the insulin should be low. The glycogen stores should have been depleted. Uh, and then your brain, and then when insulin is low, that is when that those fats will be converted to ketones. So again, we have taken a long time on this slide also. Let me try and see if I can move a little fast. Now we come to this vicious circle of insulin resistance, and I had to talk so much because this is what I needed to explain. So we eat food, and globally, 70% of the food that we eat is carbs. In India, it's even more. Now, when those carbs go inside, or when any food goes inside, the insulin secretes more for carbs, less for proteins, and almost not at all for fats. But because 70%, 80% is carbs, which has been broken down to glucose, insulin is secreted by our pancreas. And then, insulin goes and knocks and says, shakar le lo, shakar. And then the cells take that shakar and then they convert it to fat. So this is the normal process. Remember, our blood can hardly carry 1 teaspoon of sugar, and even glycogen is not all that much, just 100 grams. What is 100 grams? We eat more than 100 grams in one meal. So normally it has to go, and as a standard process, it has to go and to be stored as fat. Now, what happens is in those people whose system is impaired, who have become insulin resistant, what happens is that insulin stays high for much longer. So it pulls sugar so much down that then the brain senses that, oh, there's no food, so I'm going to starve to death, right? So what does it do? It makes you feel tired. Why? So that whatever remaining glucose is there, your muscles don't use it up. It must remain for the brain, because if the brain is dead, then the human being is dead. Similarly, it makes you hungry so that you go and eat. How does it make you hungry? It gives a signal to the stomach to secrete ghrelin. And I'm a little, I may be a bit wrong in some of these things. So ghrelin is produced, which signals hunger. There's another hormone called leptin, which signals satiety. Okay, so your brain makes you feel tired, in other words, lazy, and makes you hungry for food. So you go and eat. So this is the vicious circle today. In today's world of insulin resistance, it never used to be there when we were doing hunting gathering, because you never could find so much of carbs to to eat so much so that this will happen. If it happened once in a while, it would not really screw up your glucose insulin system to the extent that you become insulin resistant. So this is a new thing, and definitely it is in today's world for us who get sufficient amount to eat. It's a vicious circle. All right. So this is what happens to insulin. When you have a meal, the yellow one is the insulin which a healthy person expresses or secretes. The red one is a diabetic person's insulin graph. So as you can see, the curve of diabetes, it has got much more area under the curve, right? And the healthy person has much less area under the curve. So if we have to correct this thing, then if we have to correct MetSyn, if we have to correct insulin resistance, if you have to correct type 2 diabetes and all other things, then we have to reduce the area under the insulin curve. That is, we have to avoid hyperinsulinemia. This is again from a specific patient's glucose tolerance test. And the upper graph is for glucose, the lower graph is for insulin. NGT is normal glucose tolerance, and IGT is impaired glucose tolerance. You will notice that glucose as well as insulin in impaired, in IGT, is at a higher basal level. Okay. And then it doesn't increase in lockstep with the increase in glucose. It increases rather slowly. There is a delay, and then eventually it goes higher than the NGT, uh, and then it comes down over a much longer period, and it remains elevated even after 5 hours for this patient after eating. Because it stays elevated even when the sugar uh, 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 impetus is gone, what happens is in the person with impaired glucose tolerance, the glucose, the upper graph, the graph goes even lower than the normal basal level in an NGT. So this is the problem which you actually, see in a patient. So again, we talked about tofu, we talked about fatty. So a person like me is insulin resistant because I have high body fat. I'm a fatty. There could be some other person who could be a tofu, and I know several who are insulin resistant. But someone who's insulin sensitive, he has low body fat and high muscle mass. Now, most people who do not understand physics, they start invoking first law of thermodynamics. They start saying that if the calories that you ingest are more than the calories that you work out or use otherwise, as per your basal metabolic work, you're going to store it as fat. Now, they should talk to someone who understands physics. This law requires that the system be closed. So if you're trying to understand this system as a closed system for a human being, it's not so easy. We don't do everything just in terms of workouts. For example, brain, despite being just 2% of the body mass, can use as much as 30% of calories that the body has spent. 30%. How are they going to measure, and what calorimeter are they going to measure if I am if I'm lying down and my brain is working a lot? You know, when I used to take classes for teenagers, and that's a very demanding thing. So in 2 hours of class, I would be completely tired because all my energy will be used up on how to explain things to them and how to keep their interest. How are they going to measure that? So, and I'll tell you how I'm keeping my brain working today, right now, towards the end of this presentation. So, if you bring out a physics principle, you have to know physics first. So if someone tells you that, please tell them. If someone tells you calorie balance equation is first law of thermodynamics, tell them you go learn first law of thermodynamics first, understand what it is, then talk about it. So that's what they say. Weight is maintained if physical activity is equal to energy consumed, blah blah blah, whatever. And if it is not, then it's imbalanced. So they say eat less, exercise more, and shut up. So they say calories are the reason, but is it the reason enough? This is some people might have recognized. This is Delhi airport. Sometime in December 6th, 5th or 6th December 2025, a few weeks back, it was overcrowded. Why? If I give the answer because more people came in than went out, is it a useful reply? Is it a good explanation? Is it even an explanation or just saying the same thing in different words? Our body stores fat because that is the damn process. Airports get crowded because arrivals areas get crowded because people come in. And if the flights are not going, they will get crowded, right? So that is inbuilt. You have to find out what is the actual reason. You have to give an actual explanation, not just use tautology. So this is not a real explanation. Of course, first law of thermodynamics is true, but you're not going to be able to measure everything. We don't have the wherewithal to do that. Let's just go back to physics. Now, all of us, I'm sure, have seen incandescent bulbs. Excuse me. And all of us would have also seen LED bulbs. Now, same watts is equal to same light. Give the same watts to the same incandescent and the same number of watts to the same LED. Are they going to produce the same light? The answer is no. 700 lumens is produced by an incandescent bulb of 60 watts, while LED just 9 to 10 watts sufficient to produce that. Why so? Because a lot of the energy is quote unquote lost in incandescent bulb as heat. Much lesser is lost in LED. The same thing happens to body as well, and we'll come back to it in a minute. So somehow, some people who don't understand either physics well or biochemistry well or physiology well, they say fed and lazy leads to fat. Now, those who don't understand religion, they say gluttony and sloth both are sins, and obesity is the fruit of that sin. They don't understand physics, biochemistry, physiology, religion. They understand nothing. It's actually fat deposition which makes you hungry and lazy, as we have seen in the insulin resistance vicious cycle, vicious circle sometime back. They also say that, you have some resting energy expenditure, and the physical activity is additive to that. So they are the additive kind of people. They think that yes, yes, if you spend 10 units in all other things, in resting energy expenditure, non exercise activity, thermogenesis, thermic effect of food, physical activity expenditure can be as much or greater than that. It's an additive effect. It's not. It's constrained, as you can see in the right hand side graph. In fact, we can look at the actual BMR statistics, which are about 75% of total daily energy expenditure. Exercise activity thermogenesis is just about 5%. And if you do lot more exercise, it maybe go to, 10%, whatever, 15%. But is it gonna be of any real importance? This, unfortunately, we are running late, so I cannot spend much time on this. It was an experiment, Minnesota starvation experiment, which was conducted by a monster by the name Ansel Keys. But we'll not go into the whole story. Just see that the green line is the metabolic adaptation. And after some 24 weeks of giving those prisoners very low food, very low calorie intake, they went down almost 25%, the basal metabolic rate average. And then they were allowed to eat more. It was still restricted. And then they were allowed to eat ad libitum, that is, at liberty, eat as much as you want. And they ate too much, hyperphagia, hypermorphagia, eat. So they ate too much, and then it went to about plus 15%. So from 100 so the lowest point was 100 minus 25, 75. From 75, it went to 25 plus 15 plus 75, 115. So you can see that there was more than 50% play from the bottommost point. So there is evidence available that you just can't eat less and exercise more and uh, get rid of body fat. So oversimplifying, my body, when there is low fuel, functions like an LED bulb. And when there is high fuel or enough fuel, it functions like an incandescent bulb. And calories effect is of course there. Of course it's there. But there is also thermogenesis, insulin, fructose, glucose, uric acid, UCP 1, 2, 3, so many other things. So we will try and do as many as we can. So it is not a not gate. It's true in a measure that if you don't exercise, you will put on fat. But the real thing is there is an AND gate. There has to be calories as well as insulin. So unless insulin is high, lipogenesis, that is creation of lipids, creation of fats, so is not going to happen. And another study which you can see here, this was done on actual people uh, over 6 months. So the first column is zero, zeroth month, and six is the sixth month, the far right column. And the rows, the topmost row is total insulin dose. So what's happening on zero, on zero in zeroth month or at the beginning, there was no insulin given and it was gradually increased to 100 units. What happened to the body weight? The second highlighted, the green highlighted line says that their weight increased from 93.5 kg to 102.2. So the average increase was more than 10%. On the other hand, what was happening all this time to caloric intake? From 2023, it went down to 1711, more than 15% decrease. So 15 plus 10, 25%, more than 25% difference as the effect of insulin. So, uh, you know, fat depletion will happen when you ensure that insulin is low. That is when your fat depletion will happen, lipolysis will happen. So the reality is that high insulin makes you hungry through locking both the fuels and fat cells. It reduces satiety through leptin resistance. It makes you lazy through locking both the fuels and fat cells. So you can neither reduce your intake of food nor can you increase your physical output, physical activity without feeling miserable. And permanent misery depletes all willpower. And I tried everything in all my life. I had gone to the extent of working out 6 hours a day. I had gone to the extent of swimming for 3 hours at a stretch. I had gone to the extent of lifting weights, whatnot, everything I did. I had gone to the extent of walking 52 kilometers in one day. At the level of reducing food intake, I had done so much of fasting and I had reduced my uh, input calories to less than half of what I was eating earlier. And for everything, there was temporary improvement. Subsequently, back to square one. So the reality is that apart from calories and insulin, there are also other connected variables like fructose, glucose, uric acid. But we have to do a deeper dive in insulin. I'll try and do it fast. We are already past the 1 hour mark. This is what happened to type 1 diabetics, those whose pancreas did not produce sufficient insulin. This used to happen before insulin was produced and insulin shots were given to type 1 diabetes patients. Now, there are three types, major types of, there are five types actually, multiple types, but only three I want to talk about. Type 1 is juvenile onset diabetes or insulin dependent diabetes. Now, that has carb intolerance and hyperglycemia, which other types also have, right? That is there. But it has lack of insulin and their bodies are insulin sensitive and they're too thin. In type 2, they're exactly the opposite. Type 3 is emerging consensus term for Alzheimer's. Is still not the standard term for Alzheimer's disease, but they are connected and I can't spend any more time on this. I can talk about that later. So compared to that model of calories calorie balance only. This is a possible model of insulin uh, a model. Now, don't try and understand all of it. Just look at the right hand side, and even there at the top one, there are only arrows going out from there. It says excess food intake, but so reduce, but which uh, macronutrient? So, blood sugar response to carbs is the highest, proteins is lesser, and fats is the lowest. This is a stylized chart. This is an actual chart. Both upper and lower, both are insulin. The upper one is total insulin, the lower one is change of insulin. And the highest line, which you see in both the charts, is that of HC, high carbohydrate feed. And the next one is HP, high protein, and the lowest one is high fat. In fact, there have been studies, and I give you the results of one of those studies, in which rats or mice they were fed pure nutrients, lard for as a pure fat, carbohydrate, whatever glucose I presume, casein as a pure protein. And you'll see there that for the lard, for the fat, there is almost no response. In fact, there is a little bit of negative response. Carbohydrates, the response is the highest. And for proteins, it's a little lower than that, substantially lower than that. So this is what, and when insulin goes down, you can see ketones going up, and we'll talk about them very soon. But this, these two theories, the caloric theory is really just a part of the endocrine theory. Endocrine theory or insulin theory is not saying that first law of TD is not valid. It is, but caloric theory people are not studying in its completeness. So, done that, after calories and insulin, let's very quickly move to fructose and glucose and uric acid and some other things. So, insulin theory says glucose is high, which makes insulin high, which makes fat high. The fructose theory says fructose tends to reduce intracellular, that is inside a cellular ATP. ATP is the energy currency which is made by mitochondria inside our cells. Every cell has some 100, 200, 150, I believe, mitochondria, which create this energy currency called ATP. And as a result of low ATP, the fat increases. Why does it increase? We'll come to in a minute. But again, they did this experiment in these mice where the control was fed glucose and the fructose was fed an equal amount of fructose. And you see where the fructose fed fellow has gone. We also know that in hibernation, before hibernation, things like bears and all, they eat a lot, they grow very fat, and they sleep for 4 to 6 months. Migrating birds do that. And during migration, they neither eat nor drink. That's what hibernating bears also do. So, where do they get their energy, their calories, and their water? From the breakdown of the fat. So, what triggers this fattening switch? Fructose. Fructose is the survival nutrient because the body senses or the genes know or whatever. We can argue about that till cows come home, but fructose makes you eat more. The classic mechanism of calorie in, calorie out used to be more food, less exercise means excess calories, means ATP levels are topped off. They are full, and whatever is full after that, whatever overflows, then makes for obesity. Fructose mechanism says no. Fructose actually lowers ATP and it activates survival pathway where you do all these things, and as a result, obesity and metabolic syndrome. This is the mechanism. You can look at it later. These are the various problems. Excess fructose can actually result in Alzheimer's, obesity, NAFLD, dyslipidemia, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, high BP, stroke, CKD, cancer, and gout, of course. But the thing is that fructose can also be made by glucose. So no doctor told me that. They just told me that you need to stop eating uh, um, red meat and your take your medicines and your uric acid will go down. Nothing like that happened. And then I went deeper and deeper, and I found that because there is something known as polyol pathway. In that pathway, your glucose based on dose dependence gets converted to fructose. So if my sugar is like 70 or 80, no problem. Only 3% of it will get converted to fructose. But if it goes to 130, 140, 150, 30% of it will get converted to fructose, and it's already high. So humongous amount of endogenous fructose will be generated. I subsequently found out that even visceral fat tends to do have the same effect and create fructose, create uric acid through a similar pathway. So then, is uric acid the villain? So we have gone to so many villains, and this is the mechanism for uric acid. You can see it at leisure. Uric acid is also a marker of high insulin resistance, not just purine problem. So all this results in chronic inflammation. So then, is inflammation the main problem? So WTF? No, everything is connected. We are not able to see the elephant in the room because we are all blindfolded and we are only seeing parts of that elephant. So, medicine, by whatever name, whatever mechanism, is one single condition. Somebody has even come up with carbs, as in carb syndrome. So you can read it, how what they've said, and you can subsequently read all these things. And I know people who have all these symptoms. Uh, so any which way, digestible carbs really seem to be the key. Digestible carbs. And to correct, what did I do? And this is not an advice. I began with no SSS. That is no sugar, no starch, no snacks, in between a maximum of 2 meals per day. So yeah, it's show the moon, sell the lamppost kind of a situation. I don't do it exactly myself, but I try. That's what is my target, and that helps. And there are some other things, I'll come to them. If I don't do that, then I get to a tree of insulin resistance with several roots and several fruits. So the roots, the causes could be chronic stress, ultra processed food, lack of sleep, sugar, refined carbs, sedentary lifestyle, seed oils, and many others which we don't yet know. Call it IR, call it medicine, call it whatever. But the fruits are heart disease, sarcopenia, erectile dysfunction, stroke, certain cancers, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, gout, inflammation, migraines, PCOS, obesity, Alzheimer's, arthritis, so many, all of them. In addition to those, I have in my research found linkages to several others, and which I list here. And then I went back to the people I have lost in my extended family over the last several years, and there are many who, if we understood uh, this elephant in the room better, if I understood it better, well, no one can live forever, but they would have had better quality of life and they would have been with us at least for some years more. So I like to believe. So my take home for you is no sugar, no starch, no snacks. And the next step, a case for ketogenic diet, that is low carb, high fat diet. So this is Dr. Paul Mason. He's done a meta-analysis of 62 published studies between 2003 and 18, and 31 had statistically significant results. And you can see it on the graph behind him. In every case, the green bars, the high fat group lost more weight than the low fat, which is the low carb group. Further, low carb, high fat can be sustained for much longer period than just any calorie counting or trying to still eat carbs and to be able to limit them. I can't. I am addicted to carbs. I'm not addicted to fats. I don't feel like drinking olive oil when I see it. I don't feel like eating a steak every time I see it, even when I'm full. But I really want to eat a samosa even when I'm full. I really want to eat ice cream when I'm full. And ice cream, of course, the main thing is because it has sugar. If you give me just cream without any carbohydrates, it'll be equivalent to fat. Yeah, maybe I'll eat a little, uh, but not much. I can eat a couple of teaspoons of ghee. I can eat a couple of, even a tablespoon of butter. I can do that, salted butter. But there again, the problem is the salt. I've not included, the problems because of salt in this PPT, but there are some there also. So beyond attaining or for attaining no SSS, I think you can't do it. No one can do it without doing their own N of one experiments, without peace, without intermittent fasting, without ketogenic diet, without attaining nutritional ketosis, at least on some days, if not most days, and at least some exercise, some resistant training, some micronutrients. I've listed them all. Uh, you can sort of ask for the PPT and you'll get a PDF of the PPT. This is what I did, not an advice. So there was another story. This is my mom when I was in high school, and there was a story which I wanted to tell about her, but we are already running late, so I will have to sort of say bye to her without telling the story. So remember how much glucose is where? All of the blood in human body, somewhat less than 1 TSP of glucose. Same glucose in a chapati, in a small chapati, 1/6 of a chapati. So one morsel. And in Bhopal, हम लोग तवा रोटी खाते हैं, which is bigger, our family. So 1/8, एक निवाला रोटी का is the complete glucose in the blood stream. It's not even the reduced, because reduction would be 1/5 of that when you are extremely hungry. 1/4 of that. 1/4 of a morsel. Lachha paratha 1/16th, naan 1/15th, bread slice 1/4, tandoor roti 1/12th. So the target was reduced to reduce area under the insulin curve and thus achieve remission. Remission meaning problems which can't be completely corrected, but they'll go away and they'll come back if you change your behavior. So if I start eating carbs, whatever benefits I got because of doing all this will go away. So what is my protocol? No recommendation. Hydrate well. Eat twice a day or less. So I sometimes I eat once a day, one meal a day, OMAD. So for 23 hours I don't eat anything. Some days I do that. Some days I eat 2 times, but in an 8 hour window. Not like 8 in the morning and 8 in the evening. If I have breakfast at 8 in the morning, then I have to have my second meal before 4 p.m. Eat good fats. prioritize proteins. If there is no fiber in that carb, don't ingest it, don't take it, and minimize carbs anyway. Fast frequently, move increasingly, and flirt with weights. My good fats, my. I'm not saying anyone should do this. Extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, filtered only, not refined, ghee, pure ghee. It could be cow ghee, buffalo ghee, goat ghee, whatever, doesn't matter. Butter and other animal fats. And when you're cooking, boil instead of fry or barbecue, because when you fry and barbecue, those AGs get created. But sometimes we have to give in to the hedonic hunger, and we do that. But at least that's the direction. So my results. Now I'm at 102 kg. This morning it was 101.4 kgs, down from 124 kgs sometime back. No medicines. BP is now 115 by 75. Today it was slightly higher, 117 by 82, because I was tense about whether I'll be able to complete making my PPT or not. This is down from 165 by 95 sometime back. Again, no medicines now. I did take some medicines at that time, but now I'm not taking any medicines. Gout is in remission from inability to walk more than 5 meters, or let's say outside of the house. Now I can go on like half an hour walks, and more also if I want. Serum uric acid is down to 5, though with continued meds. If I don't take medicine, it starts going up. And that's because I still have too much of glucose, which is getting converted to fructose, and too much of abdominal adipose tissue, that is inside the abdominal wall, the visceral fat, which also creates uric acid. So I still have to take medicines. Ketones often exceed zero point 0.5, which is what you should try and achieve, 0.5 all the way to, I don't know, 2, 3, whatever you can do, but not more than that. Above 10 is not good. And unless you have some serious sickness, it's not going to go above 10. Again, no meds. And my fasting blood sugar is down to 115 on an average. This morning it was 110, down from 160. Random blood sugar down to 150 from 300. No meds. Last food that I had, in the run up, I told you I had to have my brain in place, and my brain would need ketones, and ketones would come only when the insulin was down, and that would happen only when my glycogen stores were empty, which, like I said, I need 30 to 40 hours to empty them. So after Wednesday night, I didn't eat anything. So 75 hours back, I stopped eating. Since then, I'm on only water, minerals, salt is extremely important, and also, potassium and magnesium, calcium if you can, but mostly sodium is extremely important because when you are fasting or doing ketogenic diet, your glycogen level goes down, your circulating sugars go down. So as they go down, a lot of water which the kidneys have been holding because of high levels of all those things, they that water is peed out. As it gets peed out, along with it goes salt, because body will not retain salt in absence of water. So in such a situation, you have to have some salt every day. Vitamins and flavoring limited to apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, some kanji, which I prepare, cold brewed tea, which I prepare, and some ghee. So ghee I needed because it's winter, and if on 17th, before the cutoff, I had multiple meals of very high carbs. And from that, there is no way I was going to uh, create ketones and not feeling miserable in between. So, and what happens when my uh, calories go very low or zero in this case? I start feeling cold, and low energy and so on and so forth. So I've been drinking hot water because it's a bit cold, and because I'm fasting, and because I had some throat infection some time back. So Satish and I, we are both drinking hot water. So I am putting some ghee in that. So I don't know if some of you can see it. So yeah, the ghee is here, and some flavoring, so it makes me, and some salt, so it makes me drink that water easily. No recommendation. Don't try it, because I've been developing my fasting muscle for quite long. So these are my results. So what do I do? What are my tools? Lots of research, no sugar at all. And when I start eating sugar, I'm done for. I'm gone. For the next week, 10 days, I'm not able to get back on track. Starches are mostly limited to one morsel of roti or rice, hedonic hunger. So some nice food is there. So I like to have it with that, a piece of parotha, something like that. A piece as in one morsel. But eating only within 1 to 8 hours window, as I said, eating 2 to 4 whole eggs and some fatty mutton, 250 to 400 grams a day. If I'm having more mutton, then I'm not having eggs. If I'm having more eggs, then I'm having less or no mutton. Eggs are extremely filling. I fry them in coconut oil, or I boil them and then put some olive oil on top of that, or take some butter or whatever when I'm eating, that is. Some fiber, some vitamins, some minerals, some of the time. Lots of healthy fats, coconut oil, ghee, extra virgin olive oil, butter, cheese, tender coconut, the puja coconut, the coconut that we use in chutney that we eat with dosa and idli. That coconut, malai, other animal fats. I do frequent fasts. They could be alternate day or 2, 3 day fasts. So now I'm into the fourth day of fast now. So I will probably, end my fast tomorrow morning. The longest I have ever done is 10-day fast. No fruits, no gym, no more than 40 minutes walk, because I want to reduce my weight and reduce my uric acid before I put too much of pressure on my joints. Um, Green veggies are okay. Some bit of dumbbell work is okay. Small dumbbells, I have light dumbbells. One of my nephews left it for some time, so I've just हथिया लिया है उसको. मैं वो कभी कभी करता हूँ 30 minute walks. That's when in ketosis. Otherwise, I don't have the energy to do it. So there is this gentleman. His fat photo is sometime in his 40s. The other photo is now he's in his 60s. And you can see how absolutely wonderful he looks. It can be done. Is there anything else which is more important which you're doing? In my view, no. Now, there's one small problem. Eating is social activity for humans, more so in India. But it makes sense when food is scarce. When food is abundant, maybe we should be eating alone, so that we are able to keep a lid on eating and eating and eating. This is a list of all these resources that I regularly use. It's much easier to first go to a YouTube channel, get references from there, and then go to the papers. So either I use this or I use ChatGPT. Many of the figures that I gave you were from ChatGPT. If there was no reference, if there was a reference, it was from that paper or that video. So these are the resources. My only advice is that always hold beliefs lightly. Don't hold them tightly. Hold them lightly. Because when you hold them lightly, you're able to synchronize yourself with truth. Otherwise, your beliefs don't allow you to do that. So, whatever be the name of the elephant in the room, whatever be the mechanism, there is something which I think is useful today, which I have shared with you, something which can be done indefinitely. Tomorrow, I would like to hold my beliefs slightly. If I need to change them, I will change them. I'm just telling you that I tend to hold my beliefs lightly. I like to. So if you want the PDF, then you send it to my email, vassoc@gmail.com. That's VASSOC@gmail.com. That's V for victory, A for after, S for study, S for Stanford, O for Oxford, C for Cambridge. I repeat, victory after study, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge. Remember that? Victory after study, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge at gmail.com. Write if you have to write down victory after study, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge. Victory after study, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge. And that's it. I am done. Thank you very, very, very much. And it's now 10:36. By this, I took 1 minute more than what I planned. I was hoping I would be able to do it in 90 minutes. So, well, we started at 10:05, 10:36. This is done. I am now stopping sharing uh, this PPT, and floor is open for questions, discussion, whatever. So I can see 3 people dropped out, or a net of 3 people dropped out. Yeah. So anyone has any questions? Arib, any question? Thank you, Manish. Thank you very much.
Hi,
Yeah.
Owais.
So if
Yeah, Manish, go on, please.
yeah, if no one has any questions, I would like to thank you for taking us through. So effortless. You kind of I felt like the entire thing that you have so assimilated, internalized, that it felt like all those terminologies. Maybe Satish would be rightly to say, like, which do not enter even into our um tongue, that you are able to share in simplified ways for us. And I think that's because that you went through this, and as your own self as a study, and that I think presenting that from a case study of yours is what kind of uh, helped us also to learn. So it is now for us to adapt to our own body, as you rightly said, and what's the kind of combinations that we should use, and how we kind of tune ourselves to our own body. Most of the time, I think we don't listen to our own body. We don't give attention to our own body. We just go by what other people say, and then just pop in pills, and we think that that will be enough and done. But I think maybe we also realize only after 40s all this. By the time when you are young, you feel you don't need this. But thanks for doing this. I think this has been beautiful, the way that you took us through. And anyway, I have been benefiting from talking to you, and I also keep telling others that when others ask me that you cut yourself, you are carved down, I say my guru has told me this. And I also have we have seen it that we are able to reverse the sugar levels and things, and I'm sure whoever is here will also gain from it. They will try and adapt, or they must have adapted it already, or if they have not, I think they should start doing it. what the lessons that you taught us. Thank you so much for sharing this and taking time out for making a beautiful presentation and then taking us through beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. I thought that it was necessary to get to all this terminology because generally, by the time I'm finished with the terminology, most people get so tired that they don't have anything more to discuss or take home. So I thought that at least the terminology should be there so that we can discuss from there on. So thanks a lot. Thank you everyone for being there and listening and hanging on. So that's it. Back to you, Ramki. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Owais. That was really an educational hour plus hour and a half. So yeah, I can imagine coming back and referring to the PowerPoint. I wondered if Dr. Satish would like to comment on this. Are you around, Satish? Yeah.
Yes, Namki. Yes. I was just about to start. Yeah. Uh, I think Manish reflected, summarized it very well.
Can we see you
So,
as well, Satish?
uh, I'm almost lying down sleeping half of the time.
Okay. Fine.
So in fact, I want to say that half of the time I felt it's like a biochemistry class going on, so I slept actually. When you say polyol pathway and all of this, I was remembering all my MBBS classes. Usually Shubha also tells me that, okay, Satish, whenever you know the same points or subject, you feel comfortable, you get into sleep mode. She always tells that. So I think I went into that mode. Yeah, but I think what I felt is a very good, transformation, of your journey, the journey of transformation. You have shared it with all of us. So from the last of, maybe 20 years, we have been seeing you, how you are a foodie. I always, seen you as a foodie, and you like to have, enjoy the food from there to sharing this experience for all of us. In fact, for me also, I'm having BP by hypertension, and I've been taking the treatment, and now I've just been diagnosed borderline diabetes also. So I've already lost a lot of weight, and I'm also going through my own transformation. All that in the last few years. Mainly, I think the problem is that individual people have their own factors which adds to either stress or poor eating habits or multiple issues which you have already pointed out, the in the insulin resistance. So I always say that, we said desire is the root cause of various problems, right? All of us say, like Buddhism. Here in medicine, we say inflammation is the root cause of all medical problems. So along with inflammation, the insulin resistance, goes well together. So silently, the insulin resistance and inflammation goes together. That adds to various problems in our body, and so various damages happen, in this. So I think you gave a very good important overview of avoiding the triple S and customizing individuals to try and test it out their own ways to adapt themselves to avoid various health or diseases is very very important. So that's a great learning for all of us here from your experience. I think individual people, whoever has attended itself, taking time to attend today 25 hours from Sati and your friends colleagues, itself is a great thing that they are interested, they showed interest in learning from you. And we can do that. And in fact, in few of our offices, we bought a BMI, the bioimpedance assay machine. We have kept it in few offices. That BAA machine is giving us the all the weight, height, the body fat, visceral fat, various and basal metabolic rate. Few of these measurements are given now. So maybe we will use this opportunity to encourage people to, to go through this BAA machine and understand their body's, condition from that. It's a basic test, and definitely adapt themselves to various learning from you. Yeah, so thank you so much. It's a very helpful to everyone. Maybe what I have learned personally is that, uh, like, how you made a common person understand a complex facts into simple messages with a lot of research. Is a very good, it's a very, very good presentation to take it from you and use it in any of these things. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Satish.
Thank you, Dr. Satish. Several other people have messaged in the chat, like Sudha has written, Mukul, bunch of people. Yeah. So Sudha says, thanks for such an eye-opening presentation and a transformation with examples. We must learn from it and avoid the 3S. I think the 3S is easier said than done. But yeah. I mean, samosas didn't evolve during our hunter-gatherer phase. So we have had all of these, but there was something about our lifestyles before, but probably the processed food and all of that, as you mentioned, have shot up, and also the genetically engineered fruits and so many of these things that where we are getting low fiber or no fiber and a lot of glucose and fructose and all of that. So yeah, I think we have to look at lifestyle modification, stress reduction in addition to this the food, but I think the food is a huge component of it. Yeah, food and exercise. Yeah. Would anyone else like to share something, or can we close?
Just a last word. It's me here, Shobna.
Yeah.
I think we've been on a very similar journey and very similar conclusions. And yeah, I think intermittent fasting and all these things have totally helped me reduce insulin resistance, sugar fluctuations, and things like that. Yeah, but I haven't done the extreme 6-hour training. I can't, that scares the shit out of me. Half an hour of swimming is fine. But it's cool. That's great. Thank you. I wish I would have connected in the last 4 months, but the last 4 months have been really interesting. Very similar. I'll call and talk to you, but very similar findings. Yeah. And as you said, know your body. I'm getting to know my body, and that's the only way I could figure it out. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that, Shobna. So yeah, Ramki.
Yeah. So I think several people, Snigdha has said, thank you for the amazing presentation. I also do zero carb diet sometimes, and it really helps. Azar, Mukul, a bunch of folks have said thanks. So yeah, I think we'll close and probably make the link available on the Sati All list and other fora for people that are interested. And we hope to be able to continually refer to you and seek your inputs as we attempt our own journeys. Yeah, thank you again and have a good night, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Owais. Thank you, Ramki.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Ramki.
you.
Thank you, Owais. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye. Owais, as the host, you have to do the honors of leaving the meeting to get the recording complete. Yeah.
Oh, I have to leave the meeting myself, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So let me see. So good night, everyone, and leave meeting or end meeting for all.
End meeting for all.
Okay, so I'm doing end meeting for all. Good night, Partha.